Welcome back to Tailgate Game Day on this Labor Day weekend, and we've got a big show lined up for you. Tony Hermann's going to be joining me, and we're going to go over last week's game. We're going to talk about Camdenton Lakers, Eldon Mustangs, the Versailles Tigers, and the School of the Osage Indians. All those four games, we're going to look around the league, see what happened there in those games, kind of get some insight behind what happened with the Osage Indians and their loss. The other three teams, they won. And then we're going to be talking to some coaches around the area. Maddie Scrivner, she's the softball coach of Eldon. We'll be talking with her. And Kaylee Lyons, the volleyball coach of Eldon as well. Then we're going to scoot on down the road to Camdenton, talk to Tyler Dinsdale. He's the softball coach of the Lakers. And then Austin Walker with the Lady Lakers volleyball team. We've got three player profiles lined up for you tonight. We've got Cayden VanSande. She's with the softball team of the Lady Lakers, and Zoe Lockhert, she's also with the softball team. And then we're going to scoot on over to the volleyball team of the Lady Lakers and talk to Bella Asante and with that program. Then Rick Hasty will be joining us with our complete college football preview on this Labor Day weekend, week number 1 of college football. Then we'll be back to wrap things up. Thank you so much for joining us on Tailgate Game Day. Well, hello again, everybody. This is Tailgate Game Day. Guy Wayman along with Tony Hermann. How you doing, Tony?
Doing well. It's been a great week here at Lake of the Ozarks, especially with the start of high school football.
Yes, we already completed week number 1. We're getting ready for week number 2. All 4 teams played last week, and 3 of the
Osage travels to Jeff City, play what is now we know a very good Jays team. Strong line, strong quarterback, a lot of speed as well. Osage comes out the loser in that game, 40-3.
You know, and there are things that Osage will that they lost a lot of seniors. So that experience on the field, people take that for granted, but that's not to be taken for granted because those seniors knew what was happening on the field, and now it's time for the underclassmen to rise up.
You know, I think you're exactly right. Graduation did hit the Osage Indians very hard this season. They graduated Connor Vaughn last year at quarterback. Maverick Trusty comes in, and he starts his first game of the season as the man for the Osage Indians. Coach Jolly talked about being a little more balanced in his attack this year, but it didn't happen last week as the Osage Indians stuck to the run game, I would think, 95% of the time on the offensive side. Also, some big losses in the backfield for the Osage Indians as they graduated several runners, and then I think we really saw the most in the line play.
Yes.
As Jeff City pretty much dominated the line on both sides of the football.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because the games a lot of times are won and lost on the line.
I think more than what people like you and I talk about. I think those are the guys that make the holes. Those are the guys that get in there and do the hard work. And last week it showed that School of the Osage graduation had hit very difficult on that Osage Indian offensive line.
You know, I go back to the Hall of Fame, and they just inducted the last class of the Hall of Fame, and Joe Thomas. He was number 73. He played that left tackle on the Browns, and that was an unsung hero, but that's the guy who protects that quarterback, and that's one of those linemen, spent 10 years with one team, and that helped prove what they needed in that Cleveland Browns. Well, now we're talking about Osage, and now they've got to have some guys rise up. They need that center and all the other linemen.
They certainly do on both sides of the football.
Yep.
On the defensive side, though, Guy, I thought the defensive line played well. And one thing that we saw last year that we have not seen in this first game is Osage giving up those big plays. They basically came out the second half and played the Jeff City Jays even.
You know, you mentioned that during our broadcast on Friday night, the big plays, and we saw that last year, whether it was a big pass play or a big running play. Now, we look back at some of the stats, and Jeff City, not a single yard in passing, but close to 500 yards in rushing, and they did it all on the ground.
They did it all in the ground. All of it. I mean, even at this level, that is shocking when a quarterback does not throw or complete a pass in a high school football game in the modern era that we have today. But they were running off tackle, they were running off guard, and they were having a lot of success with that. And when they got inside the red zone, that line took over, and they just pushed School of the Osage back.
Now, let's look at some of the other games. Versailles had a really tough time last year, and they, I think they won like one game. They came out of the gate this week, and they were saying, we're going to win some games this year.
That's a program that you've seen in the last couple of years that has struggled when they get on the football field. Not last week in week one. They had a great start to their season.
Yeah, they sure did. Now let's look at Eldon. Eldon started off really hot last year, won the first three, and then lost the rest. Well, Eldon came out, and then they were attacking.
I think we often talk about how they went on that losing skid at the second half of their season. But I think, Guy, if you take all 10 of those teams and put them in a bag, shake them up, and you play them in a different order, I think Eldon's record is probably the same. So it just so happens that the first couple of games were games that they were very winnable for the Mustangs, and the other ones, the losses seem to become more difficult every week.
And then we had Camdenton, and Rolla was at the visiting team in the Camdenton game. Camdenton, in the first half, we were following the scores as we were calling the game over with the Osage game. And at halftime, they looked fairly even, but then after that, Camdenton says we're pouring it on, and then they became the big winner in that game.
Yeah, great to see Par Pitts get his first win as the Lakers head coach. He's had a lot of success in a couple of different programs. Wanted to come back home, and home is the Camdenton Lakers. He came in as the offensive coordinator, stayed in that role for several years. Now he is the man for the Lakers.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about this upcoming Moberly game after we kind of visit with some of the coaches around the area. We've got the coaches from Eldon with their softball and volleyball teams, and then we're going to talk with the coaches from Camdenton in softball and volleyball. Then we have a couple player profiles. We've got a couple gals from softball and one from volleyball. And then we'll come on back. Then we'll talk about Moberly because you've talked to the coach, haven't you?
Absolutely. Head coach Cody McDowell starts his 9th year with the Moberly Spartans.
Wow. So that should be a good game we come up on Friday, huh?
It's going to be a great game.
All right. Tony Hermann along with Guy Wayman here. And I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with the coaches. We're here with the Coach's Corner, Coach Shannon Jolly of the Osage Indians. How you doing, Coach?
It's good today. We've had a pretty good week. Kind of excited about week 2.
I'll tell you what, Friday night was tough. The Jays, they were a good club, and you learned a lot from last Friday night.
Yeah, I think looking into that, we knew that we were going to be overmatched a little bit. We were hoping a few things could go our way that unfortunately didn't. But at the same time, I've been pretty open about it. I just thought our effort lacked. And I think with young players, sometimes having the experience shows more times than other. And I think Friday night, our lack of experience kind of showed in us of how to handle the situation and maybe rise to the occasion.
Last week when we talked, you had mentioned that the size, and you said that they're bigger up front than you were. And that kind of manifested itself in the line play of both clubs.
Yeah, we knew they were big, and that's when you try to take your guys and effort comes into part and being resilient. And like I said, they had a great game plan. It's exactly what I would have done against us, is run right up the middle and impose your will on the inside, and that's what they did. And there's wasn't much we could do about it at that time. But like I said, we didn't help ourselves on both sides of the ball. So, part of that comes on us.
Nearly 500 yards rushing for them, 0 yards passing.
Yeah, it's what it is. I wouldn't have passed the ball either if I was them. So, it's,
because that's their strength as
well. And it is, but when you don't need to,
Yeah.
You know, you run the ball and the clock runs, and then you get out of a game that's lopsided, and you come home healthy, and then you move on. So, you know, it's exactly how it's supposed to work.
All right, coming home healthy. Are you healthy?
Yeah, we're healthy. I mean, we've got still got Cayden banged up, who's our sophomore guard that was going to start for us. But other than that, you know, I don't think we it wasn't a real physical football game Friday night, so it wasn't really, we were at a high risk of getting anybody injured.
Okay, quarterback position with Trusty.
Yeah, no, I mean, he showed a lot of poise in there and missed the mark a couple times on some bigger plays, but that's going to be, you know, again, this is other than his freshman football career last year, that's his first game, first varsity action, and, you know, he'll continue to grow. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and talking about growing, you know, being a sophomore and everything, there is room for growth, and so he will be building on everything that he's learning this year.
Yeah, everything he puts in the bank right now is a deposit.
Yep.
You know, and then, like I said, sometimes you got to build those deposits up before you can get any withdrawals from it, and we saw that Friday night. But he's had a good week of practice. He's going to continue to get better. I mean, there's nothing else to say about him. He's worked his butt off to get there, and I think there's not a moment on the field that he's not trying to get coached up.
Okay, what are you doing to look forward here going into Moberly? I mean, with Moberly coming here.
Well, just, I mean, continue to do what we do, but, you know, we match up a little bit better with Moberly. I mean, they don't have a 300-pound center and a Division I guard, so, you know, it changes things a little bit, but we still got to play a lot better than we did last week, and Moberly's a really good football team.
Okay, so defensive-wise, what are you looking at Moberly that you've got to stop?
Well, their quarterback, it's they have a really quarterback-driven offense. I mean, he does some good stuff, and he's got the opportunities to run in their offense, and anytime you have a dual-threat quarterback, puts a lot of stress on the defense.
Okay, anything else that you want to share about this game, well, basically coming up tonight?
Now, just our first home game, and we're excited about people being out and continuing to support our kids. We've got a fantastic group of young men on our team this year. You know, as the season goes along, they're going to get better, but it's going to be a growing process. But they're fun kids to be around, fun kids to watch.
Okay, next man up. We did talk about it last week, just a couple of minutes this week. Let's talk about it. How's it looking for this year?
It's good. It's you know, we're just grouping that sophomore group up and inviting those guys to come in for some supplemental leadership stuff on Wednesdays. And, you know, Coach Hess is our new defensive coordinator also, and he started an FCA function on Wednesdays after practice, and I know we've got about 15 kids that showed up for that last night. So just making sure we're providing our kids with all the tools necessary, not just the things on the field but off the field.
All right. Appreciate the time, Coach. We'll catch you again next Thursday, and then next week what we'll do, we'll have some player profiles starting.
Awesome. We appreciate y'all being here.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Coach Shannon Jolly. We'll be back. Welcome back to Tailgate Game Day. Guy Wayman along with Tony Hermann. Tony, we've got a couple of coaches we're going to be talking to from Eldon. We've got Kaylee Lyons with volleyball and Maddie Scrivner of softball. Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it?
Sounds like we've got a lot of great things happening in our local schools here when it comes to athletics and activities.
Okay, let's go to the coaches. We're here talking with the head coach of the volleyball team of Eldon High School, Kaylee Lyons. How you doing, Kaylee?
Good, how are you?
All right, we've not talked in about maybe a year, maybe it's 2 years ago when we first had our chat.
Yeah, I think it might have been at the beginning of last year. Or maybe it was my first year here. So, yeah, a year or two ago.
Okay, how's it looking this year? It's the beginning of the season, and so it's a fresh start for everybody, returnings, and what's going on?
We return a lot. We also lost two, big positions in our setter and our libero. We're going to be on the younger side. Well, we're either seniors or we're sophomore and freshmen. We have no juniors on the roster at all, so we're either older or very young, but we also have a lot of returning people. We went 8-1 in the Jamboree, so that's a good start for us to look at things on how hopefully the season ends up going.
Okay, key positions. I always like to look at the setter, your main hitter, your outside hitter, and then libero. I think the libero is probably more important than what people think.
Yeah, she definitely plays a key position. Our setters this year are going to be Audrey and Sydney. They both played outside all the way around last year, so now they're going to play outside on the front row and then set from the back row. And then our libero is Emma Opie. Currently, she's just going back row for one middle. JC Mueller is playing all the way around as of now.
Now, is Opie, what grade is she?
She is a sophomore.
Okay, so good. So you get good training there, and then she's going to grow into it, be an outstanding senior then.
That's the goal for her to stick in the position. She played outside on JV last year, so her switching to this position is completely new, but she's done really well so far.
All right. Last year's record was?
18-14-2, I think.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, you did fairly well last year, and the year before, which was your first year, you did fairly well as again. So I'm thinking this year is really you're going to be building on that growth.
I hope so. I mean, we play a very tough schedule. We start tomorrow with Battle, who's a 5A school, and then we end our season at the Ozark tournament, which is 5A and 4A schools that are ranked in the state from them, like all year round. So we have a very tough schedule. So.
Well, this area is blessed with good volleyball teams because you're talking Stover, Max Creek, you're talking Versailles. I don't think Tuscumbia has one, do they?
I don't know. We don't play them. I'm not sure if they have a volleyball team or not.
And then not to mention Camdenton and Osage Beach, or School of the Osage. And so it's just, we're kind of blessed. And to have these gals practicing and playing, it's good to see competition, not just with the boys in football, but with girls sports. I have a daughter, so that's why it's important.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not from this area. When I first took the job, I didn't really know anybody being from Springfield. I knew Camdenton and like Lebanon in that area, and I knew Blair Oaks from when I was coaching at West Plains. But
And Blair Oaks is really tough.
Yes, they are. They're a very good program and a tough team to play. And we play them very early in the season, so it's kind of nice to see them at the beginning and then hopefully see them at the end.
Well, we're going to follow you all through the season, so this is not going to be the first time we're going to meet. And so we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming.
We're here with Maddie Scrivner, and she is the head coach of the Eldon softball team. How you doing, Maddie?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, the girls are working out. It's a beautiful day. Actually, we've had a fantastic weekend.
Yes, we were supposed to play Moberly this Saturday, but it did get canceled, so we were pretty bummed about that.
Okay, how's the team shaping up this year? Did you lose many seniors last year, or what's it like this year?
We only lost 2 seniors, so we have 2 seniors this year that we'll lose at the end of this season, but we have a lot of incoming freshmen, and our team's pretty young.
Okay, pitching, who should we be looking at this season?
Mackenzie Ward and Chloe Holder. Those will be our 2 starting pitchers.
Okay, and then catcher?
Hannah Beanland and Ryland Stark. They both go back and forth with starting catching for us.
All right, in the infield, the first base who plays that always gets the attention, but third base has to make the long throw.
Yeah, yes. Our first baseman is Ashlyn Hill. She is a returner. And then our third baseman, we are going back and forth right now, but we have one girl who's worked pretty hard this season so far, who we're looking at starting tomorrow.
What's your expectations this year?
We are trying to build a program, so we just expect for our girls to have fun and work hard.
All right. Any possible D1 commits, or we maybe still are years away from that?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure right now.
So there's a couple in your mind that you're thinking maybe.
Possibly. They work pretty hard, so they'll go get it if they want it.
Okay. And is it easy to find here? I did not find that the field was exactly that easy here in Eldon.
So our softball field is actually behind both of our elementary schools. It's not located at our high school, so it is right behind our upper elementary and south elementary buildings.
Well, thanks for giving us some of your time. I'll let you go back to coaching the kids, and good luck this year.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, now let's go to the other side of the lake with Camdenton. We've got Tyler Dinsdale, and they've got a great softball team, and they've won the first 5 games so far of the season. And so we're going to be talking with him. And then Austin Walker, she's the coach of the volleyball team. And then we've got some player profiles. We've got Zoe Lockhert and Cayden VanSande, and their softball with Camdenton, and then Bella Asante, and she's with the volleyball team of Camdenton. Let's go there now. We're here with Coach Tyler of the softball team of Camdenton High School. How you doing today, Coach?
We're doing great.
Came in this morning and we were getting ready to talk about what was going on with the season, and you said you're starting off great.
Yeah, we started off, we're 5-0 right now. Won the Mooresville tournament over the weekend. Beat some Class 5 teams, Republic and Willard, Lebanon, and then beat Carthage on Monday. So we've been playing pretty well right now.
It looks like this season is starting like the last season ended because you were red hot last year.
Yeah, and us coaches kind of talked about that. I feel like we're 2 or 3 weeks ahead of where we were last year. So that's good for us right now, especially because we didn't really know what we were going to get in the first tournament, especially because we didn't have our jamboree. So from seeing live pitching and getting out there, and the girls responded really well. So I feel like we are, like you said, kind of where we are, where we were at the end of the year last year, and they're playing really good softball. So.
And it's kind of a shortened season as well. It's not going to take us all the way to Thanksgiving because you're going to end earlier than that. But the girls, they're saying, hey, let's make hay while we can.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, we'll be, I think we're in districts the second weekend in October, so we're pretty quick. I mean, if you think about it, it's less than a month and a half, and then the season's over. We'll have our 20th game by the end of next weekend, so we'll play quite a bit of softball within the next 2 weeks. So.
Any standouts?
Yeah, right now we've had quite a few players, some girls that have kind of come up that we knew had potential but really hadn't really had opportunity to come out and play. So Cayden VanSande obviously is throwing really well. She threw against Willard and Republic back-to-back in the championship games. Anna Lucas has been throwing really well. Ava Vogler, which is the girl that really this summer came out and put in a lot of hard work and really didn't have an opportunity to start last year as a freshman, but this year she's getting a lot of playing time and started off the season with 3 hits, 3 doubles, and she's leading the team right now with like a .557 batting average. So Zoe Lockhert's still right there, right at 500, which is for her pretty average or for her batting average. So right now we're playing really good, and the girls are all doing really well.
Sounds like on offense you got the sluggers really working for you. How about on defense, though? It's kind of nice to see like a third baseman or a shortstop come up to the ball and actually chase that ground ball and throw it over to the first.
Oh, yeah. Defensively, we've been playing really good, too. Cody Stidham, Riley Meyer at short and third. Cayden VanSande plays there when she's not pitching. As far as outfield work, Addie Baker is a girl that she didn't start last year. She was a freshman, but she's a sophomore this year starting for us, and she's made some really, really good defensive plays this year, especially in Carthage. Bases loaded, she made a heck of a play out there in left field. So we've got girls, and that's one thing that we've pushed in practice is kind of getting girls out of their comfort zone, maybe going for the ball that they might not be normally going for, just trying to get to that next level, and they're really responding well to that.
We're going to come on over and try and grab a player profile later today. Who do you think we might be talking to?
For the first 5 games, I would probably pick Cayden VanSande. Just the way that she's been playing, really kind of toughing it out, especially in that Carthage game. She threw our championship game on Saturday was at midnight. So, I mean, that game got over at 1:15 on Sunday morning. She threw back-to-back that game and then came out and threw against Carthage. So she's going to get a well-earned week break, but she's had a heck of a time for us.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
We're here on the Camdenton High School campus, and this is the softball field, and we have Cayden and Zoe with us, and this is Player Profile here on the Tailgate Game Day show. How you doing, Cayden?
I'm good. I'm
Zoe?
great.
All right. Now, what position do you play?
I play pitcher and shortstop.
Okay. Which is your favorite of the two?
Definitely pitching.
All right. And of what I understand, you're really good.
Yeah, I'm all right. Pretty
Okay.
good.
All right. Zoe, what do you play?
I play center field, and that's it.
That's it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but center field, you need the arm to make sure that you throw the ball, but then you're probably on there for some slugging ability too, aren't you?
Yeah, hitting's definitely where I come into play.
Okay. So what would you say your average is right now?
My average right now is 500.
500. That means 2 out of every balls you hit.
Yep, sure does.
Wow, that's better than some of the majors like Ted Williams.
Guess you could compare me to him.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah. Every once in a while, I guess.
Okay. Talking to your coach, you've won 5 games so far. How's that feel? You don't want to be overconfident, but it's got to feel great.
Oh, it feels awesome. Just like going into our, starting our season and then starting off winning our first tournament, it was just such an awesome feeling.
You've won 5 games now right out of the gate. How's that make you feel?
Oh, it feels awesome. Just like the fact that we went into our tournament. In our first game, we were a little rusty, but once we went down to Morrisville and we were undefeated and beat 2 very good Class 5 teams, I think that raised our confidence a lot and we'll do really good the rest of the season.
So you don't want to start too soon, too quick, too early here, because then you don't want to peak that fast. But yet at the same time, coming off of last year, you guys are just taking off where you were left off.
Yeah, we have been. I still think how we played in that tournament, we could get even better. Our hitting, we could a lot of us could improve on, like with seeing pitches and stuff. And so I think we could only go up from here.
Your challenges this year?
Challenges this year, like teams like that we need to beat. I'd say like Kickapoo for conference, and we beat them last year, and I'm hoping we can come back again. There are some games where we were close, and I think we got lucky with last year, but this year I think we could.
All right, as the pitcher, Cayden, what's your challenge this year?
My challenge, like personally, would probably be to get first team All-State again, and as a team, just be able to carry my team further than we did last year in the postseason.
Okay, player profile. We're going to find out what makes you girls tick. Okay, what's your favorite subject in school?
Ooh, probably math.
And why math?
I don't know, like mainly like geometry side of it. I just like the shapes and doing like all like the equations and stuff like that.
Okay, what do you want to do after high school?
Either psychology or architecture.
Boy, both of those are noble causes and both take a lot of work.
Yeah, they do.
We look in your iPad and find your music list. What kind of music does Cayden like?
Oh gosh, probably like classic 2000s or like 2010s hits, stuff like that.
Okay, Zoe, now you know the questions. What's your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject is definitely biology or like chemistry and stuff like that. I really like the sciencey type of stuff.
You want to be a doctor or a pharmacist?
If I were to be a doctor, I'd be like a pathologist. Like I want to work in a lab, so like a scientist or like a pathologist, something like that.
Do you have your eye on a specific school, possibly?
Yes, William Woods is where I really want to go.
We did not ask you that. What school would you want to go to?
Grand Canyon University in Arizona.
Wow, pretty place. Okay, now what would we find on your iPad music list?
My music list, I'll definitely agree with Cayden on the 2000s hits. Those throwbacks never miss. But my favorite artist right now is definitely Kid Cudi.
Okay,
Go wrong.
there's no country between you two?
No.
All right. And the classic rock is okay. Any classical type music, like maybe even some jazz?
I'm not a jazz person. I'll stick with the classic rock. It's what my dad listens to, so.
Okay, this weekend, what are you going to be, who are you going to play, and what is your goal?
Tomorrow we play Parkview, and I think our goal is to just keep our energy high from beginning to end and just push for another win. And then next week we play Lebanon, and that's our rival. So I'm hoping that we can come through with another win.
Little yellow jackets there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Are your goals the same as Cayden's?
Yeah, can't beat that.
All right. Hey, thanks for player profile.
Of course.
Thank you, Cayden.
Of course, thank you.
Well, we're here with the Coach's Corner, and we've got Coach Austin here with the Camdenton Lakers volleyball team. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All right. Now, you had some games since last we talked. How'd they go?
We got beat by Lyons the other night in 3. First game of the season, we had a lot of jitters. We made a lot of errors. The good news is it's things that we can get better at, things that we can work on, things that, the girls realize, okay, it's out of our system. Get to go compete again tomorrow. So we're hoping to have a better showing tomorrow.
Okay, so you say good things and bad things, which is, as a coach, you need to be looking at that. Let's look at the bad things first. What are the things that you want to correct?
We have to find consistency. Consistency from our hitters, from our passing. It was almost like, all things are not on fire the other night. If we had a good pass, we would miss hit a ball. If we had a bad pass, we would have to have an out-of-system ball. We'd have a good swing. So it was never felt like we kind of got in a rhythm of being consistent the entire match.
And have that setup person, to get that setup, we want the ball here every time. We want this here. And that takes consistency by the setter.
Absolutely. Bella Asante did a really good job. We started with her and Madison Daniels both setting, and then I quickly went to a 5-1 on that offense right there just because our passing was so off, trying to find some consistency out of a setter. She started for us as a freshman and ran a 5-1 last year and did a phenomenal job. And this year we needed her to swing a little bit. So we started in a 6-2. But the beauty of our kids is they're flexible enough between her and Madison that if I say, hey, we've got to switch the offense, we've got to do this, either of them can do either thing for us. Bella did a really good job under pressure, won some overpass balls for us, some tight balls that were to the net. Her running a 5-1 and being on the front row. If we overpass, we've got a shot at her taking something over instead of just having to play defense on it. So she did a really good job adjusting when I needed her to adjust.
So what did you see that you said, yes, we got that?
We, like I said, when our passing was off and we needed to flip to that, you know what I mean? When we were able to, just putting the ball consistently in one person's hands, I felt like was a yes moment for us. It was like, okay, if this is happening, then this has to happen. And that was our then moment was, okay, I've got it here. I've got to find. I have one person that the ball is coming out of. I have these people playing defense. Our hitters connected. Bella Asante to Bella Brewer was a phenomenal connection when we had a great pass. Mackenzie Swanson, she's another middle for us. She did a really good job at, staying behind the ball and trying to find places to score points. Our pins have to get better at finding that consistency, like I said, and those are things that we spent yesterday working on. Today we're going to work on it more, and they've owned it, and they've said, hey, this is my job. I'm going to take this, seriously, and we're going to get better at this.
Okay, it's a long season. It's about 25 games?
Yeah, we play almost 30 matches a season.
So, and this is still at the front end, although I think you look at it, what are we going to do now for late October going into playoffs, not just win the one for today?
Yeah, it's finding my consistent lineup. It's finding those 6 girls, those 7 girls on the court that just absolutely mesh together. Finding, what offense we're going to run, who I need to hit, and what 2 kids can play by each other. I mean, that's so important. If I'm running a 5-1, I've got to have a dynamic middle that can go behind to run the offense there to make the blocking scheme on the other side work. I've got to find, these 2 people block better together. These 2 people play better in the back row together. And those are things that we are still working on, just starting our season right there. So looking forward to late October and finding that one lineup that just really just can set us apart from everybody else.
Do you have a key phrase that you set up this year? Like some coaches will say, just one more, or 2 is not an option. I mean, what would be yours for this year? We
have a so what, now what mentality. You mispass the ball, you make an error, you do something wrong, so what? We can't fix that. We can only make it better from here on out. So, if I mispass this ball, what's my role now? And we continually are saying, so what, now what? So what, now what? What comes next? We have to be ready for what happens next because you have to have short-term memory in volleyball. I mean, that rally is fast, coming in and out, and you got to be able to recover from that. As if we say you have a bleeder sometimes, if we let one ball turn into 2 and 3 balls, then we lose that mentality, and sometimes it's hard for us to recover from that. So we've been really focusing on so what, now what.
Okay, player profile. We're going to be talking to one. Who would you suggest we talk to first?
I'm going to say Bella Asante this week. Bella is a sophomore for us. Like I said, she set for us last year. She is just that level-headed, consistent, putting her hands on the ball. She's, again, playing front row for us this year. Some too. Going to take some swings at a ball starting tomorrow and just kind of hit the crap out of the ball yesterday. It just makes you excited to see her on the front row. She's been a great leader for us. Leader in actions, she's not very vocal. We've been working on that quarterback mentality of this is your people. You've got to step up here and take the reins.
And as a sophomore, that's great because now you're building into senior level.
Absolutely. And that in the long run, I think, you see her next year as a junior. I mean, that's just going to be a no-brainer for her with everybody that we have coming back. But this year, this is what we're working on. She can do it. She can put them on her back, and she can be a great leader for them. But we just are trying to instill in her that this is your role. We need you to do this. She did a great job the other night of when I switched the role, just consistency and finding, with our passing was off, she was able to put the ball somewhere where she needed the ball to go. And I appreciated her, making the adjustment that we needed her to make.
Well, we'll look forward to talking with Bella, and then we look forward to talking with you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We're here on the campus of Camdenton High School, and this is the home of the Lady Lakers volleyball team. I've got Bella Asante with me. How you doing, Bella?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
How's your season going so far?
Well, we just had our first home game, and we lost in 3, but we are doing pretty good, and we're just going to practice more and keep playing, and hopefully that was just like getting out our jitters, I think.
I had to make sure.
Okay.
Okay. So last year you had a fairly good record. I think it was like 18 wins or something like that.
Yeah. Last year we did really good. It was, I think the coaches said the most wins they've had, like the second or third most wins they've ever had with this since they've been coaching. So it was a very good record.
Okay. On the team, what would be your primary goal?
My primary...
I should say position. What is your primary position?
I'm a setter.
Okay, so it's your responsibility to get it right for the outside hitter or the hitter.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you have to receive it from the libero?
Yeah, from the libero, from the DSs, anyone who's playing back row.
Okay. How hard is it to do that consistently every time?
It's very difficult. Something I'm definitely still working on, haven't mastered at all. It's something we work on every day in practice. It's just like the chemistry just has to be there, and we all just kind of have to be on and make it work if it's not.
It doesn't automatically happen, does it? Because you have to be in a certain position, and that hitter wants that ball to be at a certain height all the time.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work. We work on getting tempos right and getting the hitter to be where they need to be, staying behind the ball, me squaring up and getting the ball where it needs to go. So it's a lot of work that goes into getting that right.
What's the mood on the club?
What do you mean?
The attitude, in other words, the camaraderie. I'll say it different. So what's the camaraderie in the mood amongst the club?
It's very good. We're very tight-knit. Like, we all get along so well. We're all really great friends. And so the chemistry is usually there. Sometimes we'll just have off days. But we all get along really well, and that helps us to be able to produce good things on the court.
Is there a certain mantra or a phrase that comes to your mind that the coach maybe says or you say amongst yourselves when it comes game time?
We always say have energy. We are a very energy-drived group, but we lack it. We lack it very much because we are bad at creating it for ourselves. So something we're always saying is have energy. We're always saying work for it because we need that to thrive, and we're not the best at producing it ourselves. So we've got to have ways to do that.
Okay, what grade are you in school?
I'm in 10th grade.
All right, so you're a sophomore, so you got a couple more years. Do you want to stay with the club all the way through your senior year?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
What is your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject in school is probably English.
Now, why English and not maybe one of the other subjects?
English is my favorite because I really like reading. I love writing and telling stories, and I don't know, it's just I like getting to express things, and so English gives me a good opportunity to do that.
So where do you see yourself then after high school? Where do you want to go to school?
I want to go to school really anywhere that'll have me. I hopefully want to play volleyball after high school, so really anywhere where I can do that and get a good opportunity to do so.
What would you major in?
I'm deciding between being like an English teacher and an architect. So two completely different things, but one of those two.
There's a gal on the softball team I just talked to. She wants to be an architect as well.
Oh, really?
It might have been, I think it might have been Cayden.
Really? That's very cool. Yeah, I've wanted to be an architect for a while now, but I've also always wanted to be a teacher, and since English is my favorite subject, I think that'd be really cool to teach.
If we looked into your iPad or your music playlist, what is your favorite kind of music?
Pop music, specifically Taylor Swift or Harry Styles or One Direction.
Okay, you pretty much know what you want, don't you?
Yes, very much so.
Is it fun being with the girls here on the club?
It's so much fun. We have a blast every single day. We play music during practice, we're jamming out, and it's just so much fun being here.
Thanks for Player Profile.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
We'll be back. That's it.
Thank you.
Pretty easy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just talking to somebody.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. Welcome back to Tailgate Game Day. Guy Wayman along with Rick Hasty, and we're going to be looking at some college games this week, Rick.
There's some excitement that's out there right now. Everybody's got their opinion about who's going to be number 1, who's going to be number 25, who's going to be XYZ, so it depends on what school that you went to.
Yeah, and what is so interesting about this, Rick, is that we have the AP poll and the coaches poll, and normally these don't come out until a little bit down the line, but here at the beginning, Georgia and Michigan, they're number 1 and number 2, but in the AP, they have Ohio State number 3 and Alabama number 4, but in the coaches poll, they flip those, and so they have Alabama number 3 and Ohio State number 4.
Right. Well, and that's something to where that's Saban call. Everybody wants to take care of the king, and so in turn, and I just says he's earned that privilege and like that. You know, Ohio State's not going to play that tough of a schedule in the beginning, and so Alabama itself is a clear favorite between 3 and 4.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Thursday night, and this goes streaming like on Thursday late night, and then it's played right before the Lakers game and all. But on Thursday night, there's some interesting games, but we do have Missouri, and they're hosting South Dakota, and there's a lot of people that are looking for it. And let's put it this way: Missouri's in the SEC.
Right. And the thing with South Dakota, like it is with most powerhouses, their opening game is, I don't want to say it's a laydown, but it's just one that's not as competitive. All right, kind of gets the juices flowing. So, they kind of expect to win that game, although there's some concern, like this says, that's going in Tigerland.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got right now a question on the quarterback, who's going to be the leading quarterback this year. There's 4 candidates. They've got a new offensive coordinator in Kirby Moore. So, I mean, it's something to where the year is an uncertainty, but they called it a make or break year.
Well, yeah, and this is, Drinkwitz and all. He's got that team. This is, I believe, his 3rd year coaching, isn't it, up there in Missouri?
Yes.
And generally, those are the guys that you have. Now, a couple other notables on the Thursday night game is the Big Ten game. And we have the Gophers hosting the Cornhuskers. That's Minnesota and Nebraska. And Nebraska, everyone thought that they were going to be a whole lot better when they brought in Frost, but then they had to let him go because it didn't happen.
Right. And it's also something like this is that, the coaching, a lot of the NFL coaches that haven't made it are starting to be recycled. Okay? And, it's one of these things that Nebraska has got, an inside right now. And I think they'll do well in that game. I would pick Nebraska if I was picking.
All right. And then the other one, and it's Kent State, which is interesting because UCF, and now that's University of Central Florida. That's around Orlando. And so the hurricane that just went through down there did not affect Orlando as much. So that game's going to go on. And but Kent State going in, and UCF wanted to bring them in, number one, be competitive. But, hey, it's the first one out of the gate.
Well, I lived in South Florida for about 25 years. And just the threat of a hurricane coming through,
yep,
all right, can unravel you. And it makes you have so many adjustments and stuff. So that's going to be a factor. Even though it didn't hit them straight on, all right, it went north of Tampa. But the key thing about it is that UCF is kind of like an unknown, all right, until about 15, 20 years ago. Culpeper came out of there. Okay, and it's one of those things where they have earned the right to play a good schedule.
Well, but it was like 5 or 6 years ago. They had that unbeaten season, and everybody says, "Are you going to pay attention to them? Going to pay attention to them?" And then the 4-letter network, they did not want to pay attention to them because, let's be honest here, that national championship for football, that is solely run and owned by the 4-letter network. That's not an NCAA product like it is with March Madness and basketball.
And in the state of Florida, there's 3 schools.
Yeah.
You got Florida State, you got Florida, and you got Miami. Everything else doesn't make any difference.
Now, Gainesville, you talk about the Gators. Now, they had some issues going into that because of the hurricane.
Right. And it's something where Florida State's going to be affected, all right, by it. And then also, like you say, Florida, it unravels everybody.
Yeah.
All right. And until it passes, the outer portion of a hurricane, for those that have never gone through one, is just as damaging, all right, many times of what the main tunnel is.
Yeah. Well, I worked at a radio station and had to broadcast through 2 hurricanes down there, so I know full well what you're talking about. Friday night, when we're having our normal games here, Missouri State and Kansas. So you think that's going to be a good game?
Yeah, I think. And it's one of those things where Kansas should have the upper hand because it's the larger drawing school. Surprisingly enough, Missouri State's done pretty well.
Okay, and then Saturday. This is really the beginning of the college games. Is on Saturday. They have the Thursday. They'll have a Friday, but it's really Saturday is when they put their full slate of games in there, isn't it?
Exactly. It's kind of like a preview.
Yeah.
All right. You get the coming attractions, and the attractions itself is the top 25.
Yeah, it is top 25. Arkansas State and Oklahoma, and the Sooners, they're looking to have a good year, and that they're starting off at noon on Saturday. So that's like their premier game right out of the gate.
Well, it's amazing that Oklahoma came out in the poll, all right, in the AP poll and the coaches poll. Both of them were right around about 20. 20 in the coaches poll, in the AP poll, and 19 in the coaches poll. Oklahoma's always better than that.
Yeah.
But in turn, it's how it develops.
Well, and everyone was hoping for that, and then that's that Big 12 conference. And let's face it, the Big 12, the PAC, SEC, Big 10, there's just a few of these major conferences that are actually going to be big winners, and everybody else is scrambling, and that's all going to play itself out in the next 1 to 3 years. It's going to be that 3-year window that it's all going to shake down.
Well, it's like right now, again, Notre Dame is probably as big a school as anybody.
Yes.
That's going to be kind of wine and dine to jump in there because of the revenue, the TV revenue that they can create. But, Notre Dame had a game over the weekend. All right. Notre Dame walked through it. All right. And it was just something to where it's not necessarily an indication of what the year's going to be, but it is an indication that they're there to play.
Now, you mentioned Notre Dame, and they are hosting Tennessee State, and that's in the middle of the afternoon. That's NBC. Now, they have that, being an independent school like that, they have long enjoyed that contract with NBC.
Well, Tennessee State is a small school, all right, about the middle of the state, and it's one of those schools that when you think that because it says Tennessee, you kind of connect it with the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And they're way off different leagues.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, Ohio State. We're native Buckeyes. You're from Dayton, and I'm from Northeast Ohio, Elyria, and then Akron. But here's Ohio State, and they're traveling to Indiana on opening day.
Well, Indiana, basketball country, they can play extremely good basketball. When it comes to football, it's not that they haven't played, but it's one of those things where they're just not known for it. So Ohio State traveling the first game, trust me, they didn't set the schedule up and take an away game to open, all right, if they didn't think they were going to win.
And Big Ten on CBS, this is quite interesting, and they're putting in one of their key guys, Brad Nessler, on that with Gary Danielson. Should be an excellent call.
Yeah. Danielson, I like him real well. He does an outstanding job.
All right. Let's see. Coming up next on the list is Nevada at USC. And USC is number 6 in the polls, and so USC has done well for themselves, haven't they?
Well, they've had some real good junior seniors that's been out there. Wide receivers have been handpicked for years. Running backs have been handpicked for years. So when it comes down like this, again, they finished the year out pretty strong, and I think the polls represent the fact of what they believe they're coming back with in the coaching staff.
All right, let's scoot down on the list here. Southeast Missouri State. They're traveling over to Kansas State. Kansas State is ranked number 16 in the polls, and that's going to be on ESPN+, so people will not be able to see it unless they pay that price.
You know what? A lot of people go to different premium channels. I highly suggest that you take and spend the extra money for, all right?
For the ESPN+?
Yep. Because it's one of these things where if you are truly a football fan, and if you enjoy the NFL or if you enjoy just college at that particular stage, you need, all right, to kind of get something that would give you a weekend, all right, of excitement.
Now, this is interesting, and this is the first time. NBC is trying something this year for the first time. They're calling it the Saturday Night Special. And NBC, and right out of the gate, they've got Penn State.
Well, all right, the producers, all right, are pretty smart about who they're going to pick, and Penn State's always been.
Happy Valley.
Yep, and they always have a phenomenal team like that, and that goes back from the very beginning of time, I believe. But it's one of those circumstances that Penn State will be, again, a good show. West Virginia is no slouch, though. All right, I would take probably Penn State is ranked, higher at that particular stage where West Virginia is not even ranked. But West Virginia's produced some pretty good athletes.
Yeah, they have. And what is interesting, they're going head-to-head against Alabama, which is the fourth-ranked team, and that's on the SEC network. And so it's like, okay, here we got a battle of a top-ranked Alabama going against Penn State here, and NBC is saying, well, wait a minute, we are the mother network. You're not going to beat us, SEC network, when we've got the Peacock.
That's right. Well, you got Alabama right now. Again, it's not necessarily a total laydown because Middle Tennessee, it's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, that's just south of Nashville. But it is something like this is to where their team has proven it has some good players, all right, and that they can compete. I'm not sure they're in Alabama's class.
All right, we got two more games to talk about here. On Sunday night, this is the Sunday before Labor Day, LSU's traveling to Florida State. Should be absolutely a great game. This is number 5 going against number 8. 7:30 on on ABC. And Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. That's their A team over there.
Right. And anybody that's watched college football, those are two of the outstanding broadcasters. The hurricane will affect this.
Yes.
All right. Florida State, Tallahassee is something where it didn't get hit straight on, but it is something where some of the remnants of the hurricane will be.
And probably what's going to be the star of the show is going to be the field. Is the field affected? Is it going to be a sloppy field, a fast field? In Florida, they know how to drain their fields with the sand and all.
Well, that's a great point. Right, this is because Florida State's always been known for speed. And, it's not that LSU, they got the receivers, they got the running backs, but it's something where you can take longer cleats and use those, all right, when it's a little slippery. But at the same time, and like this is, if you're relying on speed and the passing and the weather itself affects it, it's going to hurt your game.
All right, this is the Monday night offering, and this is on the 4-letter network. It's Clemson at Duke.
Clemson has come from 20 years ago when it first started being a powerhouse. And have you ever gone to Clemson?
No.
Okay. The Rock, I've pounded it a couple of times. And it's really a fantastic school. Athletically, they get tremendous support from the community and from the state.
And from their backers and boosters.
Oh, God, yeah. So when you look at the school at that particular point, playing against Duke, which, again, very well supported by its
and Duke's
alumni.
over there at Chapel Hill, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're kissing cousins, all right? But it's one of those things where Clemson, again, is in a class of its own. And, I mean, you're looking at a number 9 ranked team, all right, playing against a basketball school.
Okay, just some final thoughts here, Rick. You've got all the college teams. We've looked at some of the rankings here and some of the key matchups over the weekend. What's your final thoughts?
Biggest thing is that I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about Missouri. I think Missouri's going to have their hands full this year. They got a new offensive coordinator that's come in. They've got a question about their quarterback. Their defense is going to be set real well. I think they're going to be strong. All right. The offense is just the one. They've had this new program that allows, if you don't like where you're at, you can put in a request to be transferred to a different school. And they lost one of their best players, all right, to Georgia. And so, coincidentally, they're going to play Georgia later in the year. But I think that for the local fans and for people that kind of follow Missouri, the Tigers have got some questions, but there's optimism also. And they think that this new kid like this can come in and do real well.
Well, number one, you want to be competitive. You want to have a winning season, so at least you get a bowl bid at the end. And being in the SEC, it's going to be tough to be number one or number two, but at least you want to be competitive enough to challenge.
Well, the thing about it is the new coach, Pinkel, set a standard much like Woody Hayes did.
Oh.
All right. It's a hard act to follow.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's it. And, his record so far has been 29-20.
Good.
All right. 17-19 has been kind of like the schools that's in the conference. But the biggest thing in this is at halftime, if they're leading, they are like 20-2. All right. So let's hope for a good first half.
Let's hope for that. Hey, Rick, thanks. We're going to do this. We're going to do this every week, and this is Tailgate Game Day. And what we're going to do, we're going to come back and wrap this thing up. Well, welcome back, and Guy Wayman along with Tony Hermann. And this week, we're talking game day here, and we're talking what's going to be happening this weekend, and more specifically, Osage. And we've got a tough opponent.
Oh, it's going to be a great game tonight, Guy Wayman, as the Moberly Spartans come into town. They are off to a good start. They're 1-0. They beat Sedalia last week 28-7.
Whoa.
And head coach Cody McDowell is very optimistic, quietly optimistic about his Spartans. He's very confident in his team. He likes their speed. They too were hit by graduation. They lost a quarterback last year. They lost a receiver last year. So they have new people in those positions. But he loves his line play and he likes his speed.
So what did he think that was going to be his strength going against Osage?
I think he is very optimistic about coming in to School of the Osage tonight and playing the Osage Indians. He thinks he matches up well on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. His line on the offensive side is a little smaller than last year, Guy, but they seem to be much more athletic. And then on the defensive side, they're just bigger and faster and stronger.
That was the one thing that Coach Jolly noticed about the Jeff City Jays is that their line, they were big. And he said that they were big. And if you're saying that Moberly is a little bit smaller, at least that's going to give some confidence to the Osage players.
I think so. I think this needs to be a game where the Osage Indians come out and their line play begins to find its pattern for the season. They need to be able to make sure that they can say, hey, we're not going to be pushed back. We're not going to be pushed out of the way. And they need to make plays.
It would be nice to see Osage come up with the rushing game, because they had very few, if not any, rushing yards last week. And they did have those passing yards. And it'll be interesting to see if Moberly passes, because we saw last year with the interceptions with Osage.
I think you will see more passing. Well, you definitely see more passing than last week, as Jeff City did not even attempt to pass.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that didn't happen. But I think you're going to see more passes, a more balanced offensive attack by the Moberly Spartans in this game. And they're accustomed to throwing the football. But they, too, are starting a new quarterback this season. And that just depends on how comfortable that quarterback feels in that pocket, on how much the Spartans are going to throw tonight.
There's various games all around, and we've got Versailles, Eldon, Camdenton, and obviously Tony and I, we're going to be calling the Osage game. And the excitement is growing as week number 2 begins this weekend, Tony, Labor Day weekend.
We don't get a day off, even though it's the Labor Day weekend, and either do our high school athletics as well. It's going to be a great night across the Ozarks.
All right, have fun at your game tonight. That's all from us from Game Day.